an example of a critical issue is that we have recurring drainage and storm sewer problems. Well, that's not even necessarily a Sandy problem, right? That might be something that's happening all the time, but it could be a climate change problem. So don't think only what happened during Sandy. What are the things that are really critical, real critical issues in this community? We really want to hear from you about what those are tonight. These are some that we developed with the committee at our last meeting. And we'd be interested, obviously, to see if they're similar to some of the issues you have. For example, one of the things that we heard was there was a complete lack of awareness of where you were supposed to evacuate to. And that it was very difficult for handicapped people and senior citizens, vulnerable populations, to be able to evacuate. A second was that there was flooding. Obviously, that's kind of an obvious one. And there was flooding in specific areas, but where was that flooding? Another thing we heard, which we thought was very interesting, is that there really didn't seem to be notable community spaces. One of the big problems with Sandy was really the aftermath. Without power, you couldn't charge your electrical equipment, your refrigerator was out, and you needed help in the time after Sandy. Some of the communities that we've dealt with needed tremendous help. The Bronx, many people in the Bronx needed help as well. Where did you get that help? Who stepped up and helped you? And was it something you even knew about? Was there a community center that was helping that you weren't even aware of? And what we heard was that there really was, in a lot of places, that kind of a lack of that community space that could help during recovery. We heard about people being isolated, and we heard that there were a lot of impacts that a lot of businesses that were impacted. But we want to hear more. We want to hear from all of you. What were the critical issues that you faced, both during Sandy and during the recovery? From that, we're going to develop our needs and opportunities. So if you think about your critical issues, what then are your critical needs? So kind of keeping that same theme. We'll improve drainage, at locations of consistent flooding. That's a need. We really need to improve our drainage. What's our opportunity associated with that? Well, maybe there's a large park nearby with a natural wetland where we could actually, divert some of the water and use it for drainage. We're trying to make these connections between your assets and your opportunities and your most critical needs so that we can develop the right projects. So this was a list that the community came up with just of some needs, and we're probably a little light on the opportunities still because we just got started on that, but I think it's important that we do that. So they did, one of the critical needs was really kind of relief centers at central locations, not just one, but in each of the neighborhoods. There's a lot of neighborhoods that are really kind of out on the edge, isolated by a small amount of roads. Maybe it's hard to get to a major evacuation center. Sort of heard that maybe we need a bunch of these community centers. The other thing we heard is that we really need a network, that people didn't know what was happening in the neighborhoods around them, didn't know much about other areas, and they thought a network, a larger network, both in preparation, but also in recovery, that there's better ways that we can communicate so that the people in the community know what's happening and can galvanize and come together and help themselves. There were much more specific ones in terms of protection of the edge in a lot of places. How can we protect the edge? How can we protect our shoreline? How can we protect our flooding? How can we stop sewer backup? How can we stop sewer backup getting into the water, getting into our homes? Things like that. Those are the kind of critical needs we really want to hear from all of you. What are the things that happen to you that we want to try to solve? And so, really, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about tonight. What I want to do now is have you folks really come and talk to us. And we thought the best way to do that was to set up these stations around the room where you can interact with our team directly and kind of go through these different pieces. And so we could spend, we're a little behind schedule. We could spend almost an hour, and obviously if everyone kind of gets through the sessions, we can pull it together a little more quickly than that. What we want to do is have you go around and talk to our different team members and our committee members who are going to be around at these different stations. But then before you go, I want to wrap up, and I want everyone to hear what we heard about flooding and what happened during Sandy, and what our critical issues were and what our needs and opportunities are. So we'll have a quick wrap up at the end. Not long, probably not till 8:30. I don't want to keep everyone in such a beautiful night, but we'll try to do like a 15-minute wrap at the end so you can kind of hear what everyone else was thinking. And we'll obviously document all this, and we'll present it back to you at the second public meeting and through our other information sources. So we have these five locations, we'll call them stations. The first one is critical issues, needs, and opportunities. And who's our critical issues team? That's over here. So it's Chris and Teresa, and what other community members are going to be part of
Right,
it?
I would say that if, everybody can hear me, right? I don't need a microphone? I got a big voice. So all the committee members could stand and just raise your hand so people know who the committee members are who will be at the stations. I think that's helpful. And then, I guess since all you guys have already been kind of like assigned your location, if you want to go to your, that way we can go through the people on the team.
Sounds great. Great. So again, you don't have to go in order. It's not Disney World. It's not like a ride. But what we want you to do is just filter around and give us information at these different stations. So before everyone breaks up and goes, just so you know, critical issues, needs, and opportunities is right down here on the left. Community vision is right up here in the front. New York Rising Information Program is actually with Tanya in the back. And there's a video of the New York Rising program out there as well. Risk and assets is over here with Kevin. And resiliency precedents are the boards over here on the left. And that kind of gives you some idea about some of the other programs and successful projects that have happened to make communities more resilient. It's a very good thing to also look at. So with that, I think if you could, yes.
I'm sorry, is the $3 million you referenced a few minutes ago, is that meant to embrace that whole East Bronx corridor?
Yes, it is.
From Bronx River to just okay?
It is, and also I'm happy to answer more questions at the end. But the $3 million is dedicated to the map that I showed you, and it won't be moved elsewhere. It is dedicated for this area. So folks, please mill around, talk towards the end, and then